Hey guys, I invite you to pause. Stop the momentum of your day. Let the tension in your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. Let your eyes soften. You are in a safe, quiet space, suspended between the demands of the modern world and the deep rest of sleep. Tonight, we are going to dismantle the present moment. We are going to peel back the layers of comfort you have grown accustomed to. The electric lights, the soft mattresses, the climate-controlled air. We are going to drift back through the centuries, past the industrial revolutions, past the medieval castles, all the way back to the sun-drenched, dusty bedrock of Western civilization. We are traveling to ancient Greece, but this is not the Greece of the travel brochures. We are not here to gaze at the Parthenon from a distance or to listen to the grand speeches of Pericles. We are here to touch the ground. We are here to inhabit the body of a person living in 430 BCE. We are going to experience the grit, the heat, the smells, and the relentless, boring struggle of daily survival. It is a world where comfort is a luxury that has not yet been invented. It is a world of hard edges, stiff fabrics, and physical labor. By walking through this day, hour by hour, sensation by sensation, you will understand exactly why, despite the legends, you simply wouldn't last. Breathe in. Imagine the air is warm and smells of dry earth and time. Let us begin. Your day begins not with a sound, but with a sensation. Heat. Even before you open your eyes, you feel it. The sun in Attica is not a gentle suggestion. It is a command. It pierces through the small, high ventilation slit in the wall of your bedroom, a narrow rectangle of blinding white light that slices through the gloom. There are no blackout curtains here. There are no blinds to shut out the world. The sun dictates your rhythm, and it has decided you are awake. You try to roll over, seeking the cool side of the pillow. But there is no cool side. In fact, there is barely a pillow. Your head rests on a small sack stuffed with wool that has matted down into a hard, lumpy mass over the years. Your neck is stiff. You shift your body, and the bed beneath you groans. You are lying on a cline. It is a beautiful word for a difficult object. It is a wooden frame, raised off the ground on 4 carved legs. Strung across this frame is a grid of leather cords or gut ropes. There is no solid platform, no box spring. You are suspended on this net of tension. Over time, the cords have stretched, creating a deep sag in the middle. You have spent the night curled in this hammock-like depression, your spine curved, your shoulders hunched. On top of the cords lies your mattress. It is a linen bag filled with dried reeds or straw. As you move, the dry stuffing crunches and rustles loudly. It offers no contouring support. Knots of straw poke through the fabric, digging into your hip bone. You feel every imperfection. As you lie there, blinking in the dusty light, you feel a sudden, sharp itch on your forearm, then another on your ankle. You are not alone. You are never truly alone in the ancient world. The wooden frame of your cline, full of joints and crevices, is a thriving metropolis for bedbugs. The straw in your mattress is a forest for fleas. You look at your arm and see a fresh cluster of red welts. In the modern world, this would be a cause for panic, a reason to call an exterminator. Here, it is simply Tuesday. It is a boring, inevitable fact of biological existence. You reach down and scratch, a sluggish, resigned motion. You catch a flea between your thumb and forefinger, a tiny, hard speck of life, and crush it. This is your morning ritual. You sit up. You swing your legs over the side of the wooden couch. Your bare feet touch the floor. It is not cold tile. It is not warm carpet. It is dirt. The floor of your bedroom is packed earth. It has been beaten smooth by the friction of feet over decades, but it is still earth. It is dusty, always dusty. In the summer, the dust rises in fine clouds when you walk. In the winter, it holds the damp chill of the ground. As you stand, the soles of your feet are instantly coated in a fine gray powder. This dust will be your companion for the next 16 hours. It will work its way between your toes, under your fingernails, and into the pores of your skin. You look around the room. It is small, dark, and airless. The walls are made of unbaked mud brick, plastered over. The plaster is cracked in places, revealing the brown earth beneath. There is no furniture to speak of, perhaps a wooden chest for your clothes, and a three-legged stool. The room smells of stale air, old wool, and the faint, sweet scent of the oil lamp that burned out during the night. You stand, stretching your aching back. The first urgent need of the morning presents itself, the bathroom. You pause. In your modern life, this is a thoughtless transition. You walk to a pristine room, you sit on a comfortable seat, you flush. Here, there is no such room. There is no plumbing. There is no water pressure. You look to the corner of the bedroom. There sits a clay pot, a simple unglazed vessel. This is your toilet. You use it in the semi-darkness, the sound and smell confined within these 4 small walls. There is no ventilation fan to whisk the odor away. The smell hangs heavy in the still air. When you are finished, the pot remains. It is a physical object that must be dealt with. Later, you or a slave will have to carry this vessel through the house and dump it into a cesspit in the alley or a designated collection point. The waste is not flushed away, it is carried. It is a heavy, pungent burden. Now you wish to clean yourself. You want to wash your hands, your face. You crave the feeling of hot water and soap. You walk out of the bedroom into the aula, the central courtyard of the house. This is the only source of light and air. The sun here is already intense. In the corner stands a large pithos, a clay storage jar almost as tall as you are. You dip a ladle into the water. It is tepid. It has been sitting here since yesterday, when it was carried by hand from a public fountain. It tastes slightly of clay and stillness. You pour a little into a bowl. You rinse your hands. There is no soap. Soap, as a bar of sudsing fat, is a barbarian invention. You, a civilized Greek, use oil. You take a small flask of olive oil, the same oil you use for cooking, and pour a dollop into your palm. You rub the thick, greenish golden liquid onto your face, your neck, your arms. It feels heavy and greasy. It mixes with the sweat of the night and the dust of the floor. Then you take a strigil. This is a curved bronze tool, shaped like a hook or a dull knife. You press the metal edge against your skin. Scrape. You drag the tool down your arm. It gathers the oil, the dirt, and the dead skin into a gray sludge. You flick the sludge onto the floor. You repeat the motion. Scrape, scrape. It is abrasive. If you have a pimple or a mosquito bite, the bronze tears it open. Your skin turns red from the friction. You are not washing in the sense of rinsing away. You are exfoliating with a metal blade. You finish feeling polished perhaps, but certainly not fresh. You are coated in a thin film of oil that will bake in the sun later. It is time to dress. You return to the bedroom and open the wooden chest. You are looking for underwear. There isn't any. You pull out your chiton. It is a single large rectangle of fabric. If it is summer, it is linen. If it is winter, it is wool. Let's assume it is linen today. It is not soft. It has been spun by hand and woven on a vertical loom. The thread is thick and the weave is somewhat loose. It feels rougher than burlap against your fingertips. You wrap the fabric around your body. There are no zippers, no buttons, no elastic waistbands. To keep it on, you must pin it. You use fibulae, long sharp pins made of bronze or iron. You gather the fabric at your shoulders and drive the pin through. You must be careful. The pin is sharp. If you slip, you stab your shoulder. If the pin comes undone during the day, the point will scratch your neck. You tie a girdle, a rope or leather belt, around your waist to hold the fabric in place. You pull the fabric up over the belt to create a pouch, the kolpos. This is your pocket. You have no other pockets. Everything you carry today, coins, a small knife, will sit in this pouch of fabric, weighing down the front of your tunic, banging against your stomach as you walk. Now the shoes. You pick up your sandals. They are slabs of stiff leather cut to the shape of a foot. The soles are hard and completely flat. There is no arch support. There is no cushioning. You tie the leather straps around your ankles. The leather is dry and rough. You know that within an hour the dust from the street will get under these straps, creating a grinding paste that will rub the skin of your ankles raw. You are dressed, you are oiled, you are hungry. You walk to the small table in the corner of the courtyard. Breakfast or acratisma is waiting. Do not expect variety. Do not expect flavor profiles. There is bread, barley bread. It sits on the table, a dense dark lump. You pick it up. It is heavy. It is rock hard. This bread was baked days ago. To eat it, you cannot simply bite into it. You would break a tooth. You take a cup of wine, unmixed, thick and sour, and you dip the bread into it. You watch the purple liquid soak into the gray grain. You wait for it to soften. You take a bite, crunch. The sound resonates in your skull. You feel a gritty, sandy sensation between your molars. This is the reality of ancient milling. The grain was ground between two massive millstones. As they ground the flour, they also ground each other. Tiny fragments of stone rock are mixed into every loaf of bread you will ever eat. You chew slowly, cautiously. You are essentially eating sandpaper. This daily abrasion wears your teeth down flat. By the time you are 30, your teeth will be yellow stumps, worn away by the bread that keeps you alive. You swallow the heavy, wine-soaked mash. It lands in your stomach like a stone. It is fuel, nothing more. You might have a few figs or olives to go with it, salty, bitter, fermented flavors. There is no sugar to wake you up, no caffeine to jolt your brain, just the slow, heavy digestion of barley and wine. You wipe your mouth with the back of your hand. You are full, but you feel heavy. The heat of the day is already rising. The flies are buzzing louder in the courtyard. You look at the heavy wooden door that leads to the street. You have survived the morning. But the real struggle, the commute, the noise, the filth of the city, is waiting on the other side of that timber. You step over the threshold of your door, and your foot lands on the ground of the city. Look down at your feet. You are accustomed to pavement, to concrete that is leveled, smoothed, and regulated by city ordinances. You are used to sidewalks that separate you from the road. Here, there is no separation. There is no sidewalk. There is only the stenopos, the narrow passage. The street is made of beaten earth. It is uneven, scarred with ruts from the rains of last winter, and baked into a ceramic hardness by the summer sun. But it is not just dirt. It is a geological record of the city's refuse. As you take your first step, you must look down. This is not optional. If you look up at the sky or the Parthenon in the distance, you will regret it instantly, because there is no sewage system in Athens. There are no underground pipes whisking away the waste of the populace. Everything that is produced inside the house, the contents of that chamber pot we discussed, the vegetable peelings, the bones, the wash water, eventually finds its way here. It is thrown into the street. You navigate a path through a landscape of filth. To your left, a pile of rotting figs and fish bones buzzes with a black cloud of flies. To your right, a slurry of mud and animal dung. You are wearing open-toed sandals. Your toes are exposed. You feel a wave of anxiety, a primal modern revulsion. You realize that walking here is not a passive activity. It is a strategic exercise. You are constantly scanning the ground, hopping over puddles of questionable origin, sidestepping piles of debris, and the smell. It hits you like a physical weight. It is a complex, layered scent. The base note is dust, dry, chalky limestone dust that coats the back of your throat. Over that, the sweet, cloying smell of decay, the sharp tang of urine, which is collected in jars on street corners for fullers who use the ammonia to clean togas, but often spills or evaporates in the heat. The smell of unwashed bodies, the smell of garlic, which seems to exude from the pores of the city itself. You try to breathe through your mouth to avoid the smell, but then you taste the dust. You cover your nose with the edge of your hymation, a gesture you see others doing. It muffles the stench, but it also makes you hotter. You begin your commute. You are heading toward the agora, the marketplace and civic center. But getting there is not a straight line. The residential districts of Athens were not planned on a grid. They grew organically, chaotically, like a tangle of vines. The alleys twist and turn. They are incredibly narrow. In some places, if you stretch out your arms, you can touch the walls of the houses on both sides. These walls are not friendly. They are blank faces. The houses turn their backs to the street. There are few windows, and those that exist are high up and barred. You feel like you are walking through a canyon of mud brick. The sun, now rising higher, casts deep, sharp shadows. You step from a patch of blinding white sunlight into a pool of dark shadow, your eyes struggling to adjust to the constant contrast. The heat is beginning to build. It is not just the sun from above, it is the heat radiating from the walls. The mud bricks absorb the solar energy and re-emit it. You are walking inside a kiln. You feel the sweat begin to gather. It trickles down your spine. It gathers in the crook of your elbows. Your linen tunic, which felt stiff this morning, is now becoming damp. It clings to your legs as you walk. And here is the boring reality of ancient fabric. Wet linen chafes. The seams of your tunic, sewn with thick thread, rub against your damp skin. The leather strap of your sandal, combined with the grit of the street dust and the moisture of your sweat, begins to grind against the top of your foot. You feel the beginning of a blister, a hot, stinging spot that will plague you for the rest of the week. You are not alone in this narrow oven. The street is crowded, but not with cars, with obstacles. A donkey laden with heavy baskets of charcoal blocks the entire alley. Its driver shouts, whacking the beast with a stick. You have to press yourself flat against the rough plaster of a wall to let them pass. The donkey brushes against you. Its coarse hair scratches your arm. The smell of the animal, musk and sweat, is overpowering. As it passes, its hoof kicks up a cloud of dust that coats your face. Behind the donkey comes a water carrier, a man bent double under the weight of a massive amphora. He is groaning softly with every step. You see the strain in his neck muscles, the sheer physical toll of basic survival. He does not stop for you. You are in his way. You move, or you get knocked over. Then a group of slaves carrying a wealthy woman in a litter. They take up the center of the path. They are moving fast. You are forced into the gutter, into the muck you tried so hard to avoid, to let them pass. You feel the wetness seep over the sole of your sandal and touch your skin. You suppress a shudder. There is no right of way here. There are no traffic lights. It is a constant low-level negotiation of space. You must be hyper-aware. If you daydream, you will be trampled, or you will step in filth, or you will walk into a protruding beam. You have been walking for 20 minutes. The agora is still a mile away. Your mouth is dry. The salt from the breakfast olives and the dust in the air have conspired to dehydrate you. You instinctively reach for your pocket, looking for a water bottle. There is no pocket. There is no bottle. You realize with a sudden spike of anxiety that water is not portable for you. You cannot just sip whenever you like. To drink, you must find a source. You scan the street. You see a public fountain house ahead. It is a stone structure where water flows from a spout, perhaps carved in the shape of a lion's head into a basin. But you are not the only one who is thirsty. There is a line. A group of women, slaves mostly, are waiting with jars. They are talking, arguing, laughing. You must wait, standing in the sun. The flies find you again. They are attracted to the moisture of your eyes and the sweat on your neck. You swat them away, but they are relentless. They land on your lips. You wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The sun beats down on your head. You feel a headache forming behind your eyes. The dull throb of heat exhaustion starting to set in. You have no sunglasses to shield your eyes from the glare. You have no hat. You are exposed. When you finally reach the spout, you have no cup. You must cup your hands. The water is cool, a small mercy, but your hands are dirty from the street. You rinse them as best you can, but you know you are ingesting the grime of the city along with the water. You drink greedily, splashing water on your face, trying to cool down. But the relief is temporary. As soon as you step away from the shadow of the fountain house, the heat reclaims you. The water in your stomach sloshes uncomfortably as you resume walking. You turn a corner expecting to see the agora. Instead, you see another narrow, twisting alley that looks exactly like the one you just left. You are lost. There are no street signs. There are no maps on your phone. The streets have no names. Turn left at the house with the blue door is a useless instruction when half the doors are blue. Go past the statue of Hermes. is helpful only if you know which of the 1,000 Hermes statues they mean. You have to ask for directions. You stop a passerby. Agora, you ask. He points vaguely and mutters something in rapid-fire Attic Greek. He doesn't stop. He has his own struggle to attend to. You keep walking. The frustration builds. In the modern world, getting lost is a minor inconvenience, usually solved in seconds by GPS. Here it is a physical drain. Every wrong turn adds hundreds of steps to your journey, adds more time in the sun, adds more wear on your blistering feet. You feel a sense of claustrophobia. The walls are too close, the sky is too bright, the noise is too chaotic. You want to escape, to find a quiet park with a bench and a vending machine. But those things do not exist. There is nowhere to go but forward. You trudge on. Your legs feel heavy. The romance of history has completely evaporated. You are not thinking about Socrates or Pericles. You are thinking about how much your feet hurt. You are thinking about how badly you want to sit down. You are thinking that if you smell one more pile of donkey dung, you might scream. And then, finally, the alley widens. The noise changes pitch. It becomes a roar. The light opens up. You have reached the edge of the agora. You step out of the alley and into the agora. You might have imagined this place as a solemn gathering of white-robed philosophers discussing the nature of virtue. Erase that image. The agora is not a university. It is a riot. It is a sprawling, dusty, open space bordered by stoas, long colonnaded walkways that offer the only respite from the sun. The center is a swirling mass of humanity. This is the stomach of Athens. Everything is sold here, everything is debated here, and everyone is shouting. You try to move forward, but the crowd is dense. You are bumped, jostled, and shoved. There is no concept of a queue. There is no concept of excuse me. If you want to move, you push. If you don't push, you are stationary. You walk past the circles, the designated areas for different goods. You pass the slave market. You try not to look, but you can't help it. Men and women stand on raised platforms, their bodies oiled to look healthy, while potential buyers inspect their teeth and poke their muscles as if they were livestock. It is a grim, casual brutality that freezes your modern blood. Yet for the crowd around you, it is as mundane as buying a table. You move on, seeking food. You reach the fishmongers. The smell hits you like a physical blow to the face. There is no ice here. There is no refrigeration. The fish were caught at dawn, carried up from the port of Piraeus in the heat, and have been laying out on stone slabs or wooden boards for hours. The sun is beating down on them. The scent of spoilage is beginning to rise, mixing with the metallic tang of blood and the brine of the sea. The flies are everywhere. A black, buzzing carpet covers the catch. The fishmonger waves a whisk constantly, but they return in seconds. You look at the fish, the cloudy eyes, the limp scales, and your modern stomach churns. You realize that fresh is a relative term. You need to buy something. You cannot just pick up a package and scan a barcode. You have to haggle. You point to a fish. The monger shouts a price. It is exorbitant. He knows you are not a local. He smells the hesitation on you. You have to argue. You have to shout back. You have to feign walking away. It is an exhausting social performance for a simple piece of protein. You are sweating, shouting, and waving your hands just to secure dinner. By the time the transaction is done, you are drained. You retreat to the shade of a stoa. You lean against a marble column, grateful for the shadow. But then you realize something. There are no chairs. There are no benches. There are no cafe tables where you can sit and watch the world go by. In the agora you stand. Everyone stands. The philosophers stand while they teach. The merchants stand while they sell. The politicians stand while they argue. Your legs are throbbing. The hard leather soles of your sandals have offered no relief from the stone floor. Your lower back aches from the hours of walking on uneven ground. You shift your weight from one foot to the other, desperate to sit. But the only place to sit is the dirt, and that is for beggars. So you stand, you endure. The sun reaches its zenith. It is noon. The white marble of the government buildings reflects the light with a blinding intensity. The heat is no longer just warm. It is aggressive. It presses down on your skull. You feel dizzy. The noise of the market seems to blur into a single headache-inducing roar. You are dehydrated again. You are hungry, but the thought of eating that warm fish or more hard bread is unappealing. You just want to rest. You want to close your eyes. You want silence. But there is no silence. Even the shade is hot. The air is still. The dust hangs suspended in the light shafts between the columns. You watch the Athenians. They seem immune to it. They argue with passion, their hands flying, their voices loud. They are adapted to this harsh environment. You are not. You are wilting. You are a soft creature of the climate-controlled future, rapidly deteriorating in the ancient furnace. Finally, the sun begins to dip. The shadows lengthen. The market begins to pack up. It is time to go home. The walk back is even harder than the walk there. You are carrying your purchase, the fish wrapped in a fig leaf, perhaps some vegetables. The weight drags on your arm. Your feet are now actively bleeding where the blisters have popped. Every step is a sting of pain. You re-enter the labyrinth of alleys. The light is fading fast. Twilight in the ancient world is short. As the sun drops below the horizon, the city plunges into darkness. There are no streetlights, no ambient glow from skyscrapers. The darkness is absolute. The only light comes from the moon and the occasional flicker of an oil lamp from an open door. You stumble. You trip on a loose stone. You almost twist your ankle. You hear sounds in the shadows, dogs fighting, the hushed voices of men drinking in a tavern. The streets feel menacing now. You grip your tunic, hurrying as best you can on your sore feet, praying you don't meet a thief in the dark. You reach your door. You slide the bolt and step inside. The silence of the house wraps around you. You are home, but there is no relaxing evening awaiting you. You are covered in a layer of grime, sweat, dust, oil, and the filth of the street. You want a hot shower more than you have ever wanted anything in your life, but you cannot have it. You wipe your face with a cloth dipped in water. That is the best you can do. You eat your dinner in the dim light of a single, sputtering olive oil lamp. The oil smells pungent as it burns. The light is weak, barely illuminating your hands. You eat the fish you fought for. It is bony. It is overcooked to hide the taste of the heat. You eat more bread. There is nothing to do. You cannot read a book easily in this light. You cannot watch TV. You cannot scroll through your phone. The night is empty. It is boring. You are exhausted. Your body feels like it has been beaten. You blow out the lamp to save oil. The room goes pitch black. You grope your way to the bedroom. You collapse onto the recline. The ropes creak. The straw mattress crunches. The bedbugs wait for your return. As you lie there in the dark, listening to the wind and the distant barking of dogs, you realize the terrifying truth. This was not a crisis. This was not a disaster. This was just Tuesday. This was a normal, average, uneventful day. And you have to do it all again tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. You close your eyes, the hardness of the bed pressing into your ribs, and you understand, finally, why the glory of Greece was built on the backs of people who had to be made of iron just to survive. We leave the suffocating heat of the city streets. We leave the smell of the fish market and the press of the crowd. We travel south toward the coast to the beach of Phalerum. Here the air is different. It is cooler, laden with salt spray that stiffens the hair and coats the skin in a fine, sticky layer. The horizon is wide and gray. The sea is not the calm, turquoise vacation water you might picture. It is a churning, restless force slamming against the land with a rhythm that has not changed since the earth cooled. Standing on this shoreline, dwarfed by the noise of the ocean, is a solitary figure. He is not a hero carved in marble. He is not a warrior with broad shoulders and a chest scarred by battle. He is a young man barely 20 years old. He is thin, his posture slightly stooped, his constitution frail. He wears a simple cloak that whips violently in the wind. He looks out at the water, but he is not admiring the view. He is engaged in a war. But this war is not against Persians or Spartans. It is a war against his own body. This is Demosthenes. History remembers him as the greatest orator of antiquity, the man whose voice could command the destiny of Athens, the man who stood against the might of King Philip of Macedon. But we are not here to witness his glory. We are here to witness his suffering. We are here to witness the years of boring, repetitive, agonizing struggle that took place in the shadows, long before the world knew his name. To understand the torture he is about to put himself through, you must understand the depth of his humiliation. In a city like Athens, the voice was everything. Democracy was not written, it was spoken. Power resided in the ability to stand on the Pnyx, the great hill of assembly, and sway 6,000 cynical, shouting men with the sheer force of your words. If you could not speak, you did not matter. Demosthenes was born with a burden that should have silenced him forever. He had a speech impediment, a severe stammer. He could not articulate the sharp, percussive consonants of the Attic dialect. His A's were soft and slurred. He gasped for breath in the wrong places. His voice was thin and reedy, easily lost in the open air. When he first tried to claim his inheritance, a fortune stolen by his own guardians, he stood before the court. He tried to speak, and he failed. Imagine the scene, the crowded courtroom, the heat, the eyes of hundreds of men fixed upon him. He opens his mouth and the words catch in his throat. He stammers, he gasps. The silence stretches, painful and awkward. And then the sound that is worse than any booing, laughter. They laughed at him. They mocked his shortness of breath. They nicknamed him the Stammerer. He was hissed off the stage, a humiliated boy hiding his face in his cloak as he fled the assembly. That shame is the engine of this story. It is a cold, hard knot in his chest that will not dissolve. Most men would have accepted their lot. They would have retreated into a quiet, private life of obscurity. But Demosthenes possessed a terrifying, almost masochistic ambition. He decided that he would not just cure himself, he would remake himself. He realized that the distractions of the city, the festivals, the dinners, the noise, were the enemy of his focus. To build a new voice, he needed absolute isolation. So he did something that borders on madness. He built a dungeon for himself. He hired laborers to dig a subterranean room, a study carved deep into the earth. It was not a cozy basement. It was a cave. The walls were raw dirt and stone. The floor was cold. There were no windows, no natural light. The only illumination came from the flickering flame of a clay oil lamp, which cast long, dancing shadows against the dirt walls. He moved into this hole. The sensory deprivation was intentional. In the cave, there was no day or night. There was only the work, but the temptation to return to the world above, to the sunlight and the company of others, was always there. The human mind craves connection. It craves variety. To ensure he could not leave, to physically trap himself in his own training camp, Demosthenes performed an act of self-mutilation on his vanity. He took a razor, a sharp bronze blade. He stood before a polished metal mirror, and he shaved his head. But he didn't shave it completely. That would have been a style, perhaps. No, he shaved exactly one half of his head. He left the other half covered in thick, dark hair. Visualize him sitting in the dim light of his cave. He looks ridiculous. He looks like a lunatic. If he were to step outside, he would be mocked relentlessly. He has made himself a monster in the eyes of society so that he cannot leave. He has burned the bridge back to comfort. Now begins the routine, and it is the definition of boring. There is no montage here. There is no fast forward. There is only the slow, grinding passage of time. Demosthenes stands before his mirror in the underground room. He is practicing a single speech, not for an hour, not for a day, but for weeks. He recites the verses of the great poet Euripides. He watches his lips move. He watches his throat restrict. He analyzes every muscle twitch. He notices that when he gets frustrated, when the words won't come, his left shoulder twitches. It is a nervous tick, a spasm of anxiety. It ruins the image of the calm statesman. He must stop it, but willpower is not enough. He needs consequences. He constructs a device. He hangs a sharp sword from the ceiling of the cave. He positions it with mathematical precision so that the point of the blade hangs just a fraction of an inch above his shoulder. He He begins to speak again. He recites the legal arguments. He gets passionate. The stammer threatens to return. His body tenses. His shoulder jerks up and meets the steel. Prick. A sharp pain. A trickle of blood runs down his arm. He resets. He starts the sentence again. He forces his shoulder down, fighting his own nervous system. He speaks. He twitches. Prick. The pain is the teacher. Hour after hour, day after day, standing in a damp hole, bleeding slightly, talking to a dirt wall. The air in the cave is stale. His legs ache from standing. His throat is raw. The sheer monotony of it would drive a modern person to scream. There is no dopamine hit here. There is no like button. There is only the echo of his own flawed voice and the cold bite of the sword. He stayed underground for 2 or 3 months at a time, while the seasons changed above him, while the Athenians celebrated the harvest or the Dionysia, getting drunk and watching plays. Demosthenes was in the dark, reciting the same paragraph for the 1000th time, waiting for the moment when his shoulder would no longer rise. This is the hidden reality of the history books. We see the statue. We do not see the blood on the shoulder. We do not see the half-shaved head. We do not feel the crushing, suffocating boredom of the cave. When Demosthenes was not in his cave, he was here, on the beach of Phalerum, but he was not here to relax. He was here to engage in a physical therapy so crude and dangerous that it borders on the absurd. He walks along the water's edge, his eyes scanning the ground. He is looking for something specific, not a shell, not a piece of sea glass. He is looking for pebbles. He kneels in the wet sand. He sifts through the stones, discarding the jagged ones, looking for small, smooth, rounded rocks. He selects 2 or 3. They are cold. They are coated in the brine of the sea. And then he puts them in his mouth. Pause to imagine this sensation. You know the feeling of a dentist's tool or a piece of food stuck in your cheek? It triggers a gag reflex. It floods the mouth with saliva. It is an obstruction. Demosthenes places the stones under his tongue, or perhaps between his teeth and his cheeks. The discomfort is immediate. The stones are hard objects in a soft space. They click against his teeth. They taste of salt and minerals. And then, with his mouth full of rocks, he begins to recite. He chooses the most difficult passages of poetry. He forces his tongue to navigate around the obstacles. He forces it to curl and strike the roof of his mouth to form the letter rho or the sharp sigma, fighting the dead weight of the pebbles. It is a grotesque exercise. Saliva drools from his lips because he cannot swallow easily. His jaw muscles begin to cramp from the unnatural tension. If he inhales too sharply, he risks choking, inhaling a stone into his windpipe. It is a constant, low-level dance with suffocation. He walks up and down the beach, mumbling, spitting, resetting the stones and trying again. Speak, click, choke, reset. To a passerby, he looks like a madman muttering to the sand. But inside his mouth, a transformation is happening. The tongue is a muscle. By adding resistance, like a weightlifter adding plates to a bar, he is forcing that muscle to grow stronger, faster, and more precise. He is engineering his own anatomy through pure, repetitive discomfort. But articulation was only half the battle. His other weakness was his breath. He had short breath. He could not sustain long, flowing sentences without gasping. In the assembly, a gasp was a sign of weakness. It broke the spell of the rhetoric. So he leaves the water's edge. He turns towards the cliffs. The terrain here is steep. The path is covered in loose shale and scrub brush. The sun is beating down on his back. He begins to run. This is not a jog. This is a labor. His sandals slip on the loose rocks. His calves burn. His heart rate spikes, thumping against his ribs. The natural instinct of the human body when running uphill is to pant, to take short, shallow, greedy breaths to oxygenate the blood. Demosthenes denies his body this relief. As he runs, as his lungs scream for air, he forces himself to recite speeches. Long, complex sentences with subordinate clauses that seem to go on forever. The brave man must not only be ready to die for his country, but to live for it in the service of justice. He is starving his brain of oxygen. while demanding high-level cognitive function. The edges of his vision go dark. His chest feels like it is wrapped in iron bands. He wants to stop. He wants to bend over, hands on knees, and wheeze, but he keeps moving. Step, recite, step, recite. He is training his diaphragm to become a bellows of steel. He is teaching his body to ration air like a miser rations gold. He is learning to project power, even when he is physically depleted, even when he is exhausted, even when he feels like he is dying. This is the boring reality of the great speeches you read in history books. They were not born from a moment of inspiration with a quill pen. They were forged on a steep, dusty hill in the heat by a man running until he vomited, just so he could say one sentence without taking a breath. Finally, there is the noise. Demosthenes knew that the Athenian assembly, the ecclesia, was a beast. 6,000 men gathered on the Pnyx. They were not a polite audience. They drank wine. They ate garlic. They shouted. They heckled. They laughed. If they didn't like you, they would drown you out with a wall of sound. To prepare for this human storm, Demosthenes used the only thing louder than the mob, the ocean. He returns to the surf during a storm. The waves are high, crashing with a deafening roar. The wind is howling, tearing the words from his lips before they can be heard. He stands in the surf, the cold water rushing around his ankles, soaking the hem of his tunic. He plants his feet in the shifting sand, a literal lesson in stability. If he can be knocked over by a wave, he can be knocked over by a heckler. He faces the horizon, and he screams. He declaims his arguments to the empty, indifferent ocean. He tries to make his voice heard over the crash of the water. He projects from his belly, not his throat. He learns to pitch his voice lower, to cut under the sound of the wind rather than trying to screech over it. His throat is raw. His vocal cords are swollen. He tastes the salt spray on his lips. He looks insane, a lone figure screaming at the tide, but he is visualizing the crowd. Every wave is a shouting citizen. Every gust of wind is an insult. He does this for hours, until the sun goes down, until his voice is a rasp, until he is shivering from the cold and the exhaustion. Years pass, not days, years. The hair on his half-shaven head grows back, and he shaves it again. The pebbles are replaced by smooth words. The uphill runs become easier. The voice that was once thin and reedy becomes a resonant baritone, hardened by the salt air and the discipline of the cave. Eventually, the day comes. He returns to Athens. He walks up the steps of the Pnyx. He stands on the bema, the speaker's stone. The crowd is there. The noise is there. The heat is there. But Demosthenes is no longer the boy who hid in his cloak. He stands still. His feet, trained in the shifting sands, are rooted to the stone. His lungs, expanded on the steep hills, take in a massive, silent breath. His tongue, strengthened by the resistance of stones, waits to strike. When he speaks, the sound is not a stammer. It is a weapon. It cuts through the noise of the crowd like a knife through linen. The silence that follows is total. But as we leave him there, in his moment of triumph, remember the beach. Remember the taste of the rocks. Remember the ache in the legs. Remember the loneliness of the cave. The history books record the victory. But the reality was the years of boring, painful, solitary grinding that made the victory possible. We leave the solitary struggle of the orator on the beach and move to a different kind of struggle, a collective journey into the dark. In the ancient world, religion was usually a public affair. It was sacrifices in the sunlight, festivals with wine, and statues visible to all. But there was another side to Greek spiritual life, a side that took place in the shadows, a side that was forbidden to speak of. We are entering the realm of the Eleusinian mysteries. For nearly 2,000 years, the wisest men and women of antiquity, generals, emperors, philosophers like Plato and Cicero, traveled to the small town of Eleusis, about 14 miles northwest of Athens. They went there to be initiated. They went into a great dark hall. They saw something. They experienced something profound that changed their view of death forever. And then they came out, and they said nothing. To reveal the secrets of the mysteries was a crime punishable by death, and the secret was kept. We, the people of the modern world, with our satellites and scanners, still do not know exactly what happened inside that hole. We have theories, we have fragments, but the core of the experience remains a ghost. Tonight, we will walk the path of the initiate. We will undergo the physical and psychological preparation that made this mystery so potent. The journey begins not with magic, but with a story. The story of a mother and a daughter, Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, and Persephone, her child, who was dragged down to the underworld by Hades. It is a story of grief. When Persephone was taken, Demeter went into mourning. The earth died, crops failed, winter fell upon the world. The mysteries are a reenactment of this grief, this search, and the eventual return of life. But you do not just listen to this story, you live it. Imagine you are an initiate, a mystai. Your preparation begins in Athens, days before the journey. You must purify yourself. This involves bathing in the sea, returning to the salt water we just left. You walk into the waves with a young piglet, a sacrificial animal, and wash it and yourself. The water is cold. The animal struggles. It is a chaotic, visceral act of cleansing. Then begins the fast. You abstain from food, particularly from grains, the gift of Demeter. You mimic the goddess's starvation. By the time the great procession begins, you are physically weakened. You are hungry. You are lightheaded. Your body is primed for an altered state of consciousness, not by drugs yet, but by the simple, boring biology of deprivation. The day of the procession arrives. It is the month of Bodromion, September, October. The heat of the summer has broken, but the days are still warm. You join a crowd of thousands. Men, women, slaves, emperors. In the eyes of the mysteries, all social rank is dissolved. Everyone wears simple robes. Everyone walks. The journey from Athens to Eleusis is along the Hierahodos, the sacred way. It is 14 miles long. In a car, this is a 20-minute drive. On foot, in a crowd, amidst the dust, it is a grueling day-long trek. Imagine the sensory reality of this march. You are hemmed in by bodies. The dust kicked up by thousands of sandals creates a choking fog that hangs over the road. There is no water to spare. You are fasting, so your blood sugar is low. The rhythm of the walk becomes hypnotic. Step, step, step. The road is lined with cemeteries and tombs. You are walking through the land of the dead to find the secret of life. Halfway to Eleusis, something strange happens. The solemn mood is broken. You reach a bridge crossing the river Kephisos. Here men with covered heads or wearing masks are waiting. As you pass, they scream insults at you. They mock your family, your appearance, your life. They make crude, obscene gestures. This is the Gepherismoi, the bridge jests. It seems jarring. Why in this holy procession is there abuse? It is a psychological tool. It is designed to humble you, to break down your ego, to make you laugh in the face of fear. Just as the goddess Demeter was made to smile in her grief by a servant, dirty joke, you are forced to release your tension. You endure the insults. You lower your head. You keep walking. The sun begins to set. As you approach Eleusis, the light fails. The torches are lit. Imagine the visual shift. The world narrows down to the flickering circle of orange firelight. The shadows stretch long and dancing across the road. The air fills with the smell of burning pine pitch and sulfur. You are exhausted. Your feet are blistered, a recurring theme of ancient life. You are hungry, but the atmosphere has shifted from a march to a trance. The chanting grows louder. Iaksh o Iaksha. The rhythmic cry echoes off the hills. You arrive at the sanctuary of Eleusis. Massive stone walls loom in the darkness. You pass through the gates, leaving the profane world behind. You are now in the domain of the goddesses. But the climax is not yet. There is one more physical ritual you must endure. You are thirsty. You have been walking all day in the dust, but you are not given water. You are given the kykeon. This is a thick barley-based potion. It is flavored with mint, pennyroyal. You are handed a clay cup. The liquid is cool, gritty, and pale. You drink it. And here lies the great archaeological mystery. What was in the kykeon? For decades, scholars have debated this. Was it just meal and water? Or was it something else? Consider the fungus Claviceps purpurea, ergot. It grows on barley in the wet autumns. It contains alkaloids similar to LSD. If prepared incorrectly, it is a deadly poison. If prepared with ancient knowledge, it is a potent psychoactive agent. Did the priests of Eleusis know how to brew a mild psychedelic? Was the vision that thousands saw a chemically induced hallucination, guided by suggestion and ritual? We do not know for sure, but we know the symptoms recorded by some: vertigo, sweating, trembling, and a sudden, overwhelming visual clarity. You drink the cup. You wipe your mouth. The grit of the barley lingers on your tongue. You stand in the courtyard, waiting. The great doors of the telesterion, the hall of initiation, are closed. Inside, the fire is burning. Inside, the hierophant, the high priest, is waiting. Your heart beats slow and heavy. The fatigue of the walk blends with the anticipation. The darkness is absolute, save for the stars and the torches. You are about to learn the secret of death. The great wooden doors of the telesterion groan open. You are pushed forward by the press of the crowd. You step over the threshold. You are now inside one of the most important buildings in the ancient world. But it does not look like a temple. It looks like a fortress of shadows. The telesterion is a massive square hall, carved partly out of the living rock of the hillside. As your eyes adjust to the gloom, you realize the space is filled with a forest of columns. Dozens of thick stone pillars rise up into the darkness to support the roof. They block your line of sight. You cannot see the end of the room. You can only see the flickering light of torches reflecting off the polished limestone of the columns nearby. The air inside is different. It is still. It is thick with the smoke of incense, frankincense, and myrrh burning in heavy braziers. It smells of old stone, fire, and the sweat of thousands of nervous bodies. You find a place to stand. There are steps cut into the rock around the edges of the room, a kind of stadium seating, but many simply stand on the floor, leaning against the pillars. The exhaustion of the walk is still in your legs, a dull, throbbing ache. The effects of the kykeon, the barley drink, begin to settle in. Perhaps the lights seem a little brighter, perhaps the shadows seem to breathe, or perhaps it is just the fatigue and the sensory deprivation playing tricks on your mind. The ritual begins. But it is not a sermon, it is a performance. In the center of the hall stands the anactoron, a small rectangular stone structure, a palace within the temple. Only the hierophant, the high priest, may enter it. A deep silence falls over the crowd. 3,000 people hold their breath. The ritual is divided into 3 parts: dromina, things done; legomena, things said; and diiknimena, things shown. First, the dromina. You watch a dramatic reenactment in the torchlight. Figures in masks move through the columns. You see the grief of Demeter enacted. You see her wandering the earth, weeping for her lost daughter. Because you are tired, because you are hungry. The emotion of the performance seeps into you. You feel her loss. The darkness of the hall becomes the darkness of the underworld. Then the legomena. A voice speaks from the darkness. It is not a human conversation. It is a series of short, cryptic phrases. The acoustics of the hall make the voice sound like it is coming from everywhere and nowhere. The words are ancient, unintelligible to some, but the rhythm is hypnotic. And then the climax, the diiknimena, the things shown. The fire in the center of the hall is suddenly stoked. A great blaze erupts, casting wild, leaping shadows against the ceiling. The heavy wooden doors of the anactoron burst open. The hierophant steps out. He is silhouetted against the blinding light of the fire. He is dressed in elaborate robes that shimmer in the heat. To your dilated pupils, accustomed to hours of darkness, he looks like a god made of light. He raises his hands. The silence is absolute. The tension in the room is a physical weight. What is the secret? What is the truth of the universe that you have walked 14 miles to see? He holds up an object. You squint. You strain your eyes. It is not a jewel. It is not a golden statue. It is not a severed head. It is an ear of wheat, a single cut stalk of grain. He holds it up in silence, and in that silence the meaning washes over the crowd. The grain dies. It is buried in the cold earth. It rots, and from that death, new life springs. The seed must die to become the plant. You, the initiate, are the grain. Your death is not an end. It is a planting. To a modern thrill seeker, this might seem boring. I walked all day for a piece of corn, but in the context of the ancient world, a world where famine was one bad harvest away, where death was a constant, terrifying companion, this symbol was shattering. It was a promise of continuity. It took the most mundane, boring object of daily life, the wheat that broke your teeth at breakfast, and turned it into a symbol of eternity. The Hierophant shouts a phrase, "The mistress has given birth to a holy child. Brimo has borne Brimos." The light fades, the doors close, the ritual ends. You stumble out of the telesterium. The night air outside feels shockingly cold. The stars look different now. You are sworn to secrecy. You can never speak of the ear of wheat. You can never describe the fire. If you do, the penalty is death. And so you hold the boring, profound truth inside you. You walk back toward Athens. The journey home is quiet. The adrenaline fades, replaced by a deep, heavy exhaustion. You find a spot by the road, wrap your cloak around yourself, and sleep on the hard earth. And for the first time in your life, you do not fear the dark. We have spent our journey in the mud. We have walked with the laborers, the slaves, and the exhausted initiates. But now, as the night deepens over Athens, we turn a corner. We leave the narrow, twisting alleys of the poor and approach a set of double doors that are taller, wider, and made of sturdy oak, reinforced with bronze studs. We are about to enter the world of the kaloi kagatoi, the beautiful and the good, the aristocracy. You are no longer an observer on the street. Tonight you are a guest. The door opens. You step inside. The first thing you notice is the silence. The thick mud brick walls of the wealthy home act as soundproofing, cutting off the chaotic roar of the city outside. The barking dogs, the shouting drunks, the grinding cartwheels, they all vanish. You have stepped into a vacuum of calm. You are led through the courtyard. It is not the dusty, chicken-filled yard of the commoner. It is paved with flagstones. A fountain trickles in the center. A profligate waste of water in a dry city. A display of sheer power. But we are not staying here. We are moving to the most exclusive room in the Greek world, the andron, the men's room. Pause at the threshold. Look down at your feet. In the previous segments, you walked on packed dirt, on rough stones, on manure. Here you step onto a masterpiece. The floor is a pebble mosaic. Thousands of small, smooth river stones, black, white, and slate gray, have been hand-collected and set into mortar. They form a picture. Perhaps it is a scene of dolphins leaping through waves, or griffins attacking a stag. Think of the labor involved here. Someone spent months kneeling, sorting these stones by size and shade, pressing them into wet cement to create a floor that feels cool and textured under your bare soles. It is not just a floor. It is a statement that says, I have time, I have money, I control nature. You cannot enter the Symposium carrying the filth of the world. The transition from the street to the couch is a ritual of purification. You stand by the door. A slave appears. He is young, dressed in a clean white tunic, a stark contrast to the rags you saw earlier. He carries a silver basin and a pitcher. He kneels before you. You lift your foot. The water is warm, not tepid, but heated. He pours it over your dusty ankles. He uses a sea sponge, soft and porous, to gently scrub away the grime of the agora. He dries your skin with a linen towel that is thick and plush, not the rough, homespun cloth that chafed you this morning. This act is slow. It is intimate. It is the first time all day that you have been touched with care rather than aggression. But there is a boredom to it too. You must stand there, passive, while another human being cleans you. You are becoming an object to be manicured. Cleanliness is not enough. You must smell like a god. The slave brings a small alabaster flask, an alabastron. He unstoppered it and the scent fills the room. It is not the heavy cooking-grade olive oil you used this morning. This is perfumed oil. Perhaps it is irinon, made from the rhizomes of irises steeped in oil for months, or myrinon, heavy with the resin of myrrh imported from Arabia, or suzinon, the scent of lilies. He pours the oil into his palm and rubs it into your feet, your arms, your neck. The scent is complex, floral, earthy, and expensive. It masks the smell of the city. It masks the smell of sweat. You are being sealed inside a bubble of fragrance. Finally, he places a wreath upon your head. This is not a fashion statement. It is a medical device, or so they believe. The wreath is made of woven celery, poplar leaves, or perhaps roses. The Greeks believed that the tightness of the band around the brow, combined with the cooling properties of the plants, will prevent the headache of intoxication. You feel the leaves crinkling against your forehead, a scratchy organic crown. You are ready. You move into the room proper. Lining the walls, raised on a low stone platform, are the kleini. Let us look closely at these couches. They are not the rickety frames you woke up on. These are made of maple or olive wood, turned on a lathe, polished to a high sheen. The legs are inlaid with ivory, amber, or tortoiseshell. But the real luxury is the suspension. The cords strung across the frame are fresh, tight, and springy. And on top of them, cushions, not straw, not reeds, feathers, down feathers, plucked from geese. The mattress is thick and yielding. The fabric covering it is not gray wool. It is dyed, and the color is the ultimate flex. Purple, Tyrian purple. To understand this luxury, you must understand the boring chemistry of the ancient world. This dye comes from the murex sea snail. To get enough dye for a single cloak or couch cover, tens of thousands of snails must be crushed and boiled. The smell of the dye factories is horrific, the scent of rotting shellfish. But here the smell is gone. Only the color remains. A deep, rich, reddish violet that screams wealth. You climb onto the couch. You do not sit. You recline. You lean on your left elbow. A slave adjusts a cushion behind your back. Another tucks a bolster under your arm. You are suspended. You are floating. Now that you are settled, look around. The andron is usually designed for 7, 9, or 11 couches. An odd number. Why? So that everyone can see everyone else. The room is a theater. There are no dark corners to hide in. You are on display. The walls are painted in frescoes, perhaps a scene of Dionysus drinking, or a geometric pattern of meanders in red and ochre. Near the ceiling, hooks are driven into the plaster. From them hang garlands of ivy and wool. The lighting is low. Oil lamps, liknoi, made of bronze or fine pottery, sit on tall stands. They burn clean, high-quality olive oil with a pinch of salt added to reduce the smoke. The flames flicker, casting long, moving shadows that make the painted figures on the walls seem to dance. The room fills up. Other guests arrive. They go through the same washing, the same oiling, the same wreath adjusting. They recline. There is a rustle of robes, a clearing of throats. This is the beginning of the evening, and it is fraught with a specific kind of tension. You are not just here to get drunk. You are here to perform. You are here to prove that you belong to the elite. You look at the man across from you. He is wearing a himation of sheer Milesian wool, draped perfectly to show off his leisure. He nods at you. "A warm evening," he says. "Indeed," you reply. The conversation is polite, stiff. You are conscious of your posture. You are conscious of the wreath slipping on your head. You are conscious of the slave standing silently in the corner, watching your cup, waiting for a signal. You realize that this luxury is a cage. You cannot relax. You cannot slouch. You cannot just be. You must be a kalos kagathos. You must be beautiful and good, and you haven't even had a drink yet. The meal begins, but this is not the eating to survive you experienced this morning. This is deipnon, the dinner. Slaves bring in small, three-legged tables, trapezai, sliding them low in front of each couch. They are laden with food that defies the reality of the dry, dusty city outside. Remember the barley bread, the rock-hard, grit-filled lump that broke your teeth? It is gone. In its place, place is silignion, bread made from fine, sifted wheat flour. It is white, it is soft, it yields to your touch like a sponge. When you bite into it, there is no crunch of stone, only the sweetness of the grain. It is a texture of such impossible luxury that you pause just to savor the absence of pain. And then, the proteins. On the street, meat is a rarity, reserved for festival sacrifices. Here, it is a pile. There are roasted thrushes, tiny songbirds caught in nets, cooked whole, glazed in honey and sesame seeds. You eat them bones and all, the crunch of the tiny rib cages mixing with the sweet glaze. There are eels from Lake Copais. These were transported alive in wet tanks over mountain passes just to reach this table. They are wrapped in beet leaves and grilled. The flesh is rich, oily, and soft. There are oysters still wet with the sea served on their shells. There is cheese from Sicily, flavored with figs and garlic. You eat with your fingers. There are no forks. You reach into the bowls, your hands becoming coated in sauce and oil. It is a tactile, messy intimacy. When your fingers become too greasy, you do not use a napkin. You take a piece of the soft bread, wipe your fingers on the dough, and then, in a casual display of waste, you toss the grease-soaked bread to the floor. Beneath your couch, Maltese dogs, small yapping creatures, bred solely for companionship, scramble to fight over your scraps. You hear the snapping of their jaws near your ankles. You are feeding animals better food than the beggar at the gate will see in a lifetime. The eating concludes. The slaves return. They whisk the tables away. This is the demarcation line. The dipnon, dinner, is over. Now begins the Symposium, literally the drinking together. The mood shifts. The air in the room grows warmer, heavier with the smell of roasted meat and the rising humidity of bodies. The slaves sweep the floor, clearing the larger bones, but leaving a layer of debris, flower petals, crumbs, that forms a chaotic carpet. Then the centerpiece arrives. 2 slaves carry it in. It is heavy. It is the krater, a massive ceramic vessel, wide-mouthed and deep, painted with scenes of satyrs chasing maenads. It is placed in the absolute center of the room. It is the altar of the evening. You might think you can now relax and have a drink. You cannot. In the Symposium, drinking is not a personal choice. It is a governed activity. The group must choose a symposiarch, the master of the drinking. This might be the host, or it might be decided by a roll of the dice. Knucklebones. The symposiarch is the dictator. His word is law. He determines 2 things that will shape your entire night: the mixture, the pace. He stands by the crater. He looks at the company. He assesses the mood. Tonight, he announces, we shall drink to the muses. He orders the slaves to pour the wine, but they do not pour it into cups. They pour it into the crater, and then they pour the water. This is the critical moment. To drink wine unmixed, akraton, is considered madness. It is something Scythians do. It causes insanity and violence. To be Greek is to mix. The symposiarch calls out the ratio, 3 parts water to 1 part wine. This is a boring ratio. It effectively makes the wine a weak, flavored water. It signals a night of long, dry, philosophical speeches. You stifle a sigh, or perhaps 2 parts water to 1 part wine, the standard. A slow, steady buzz that allows for wit but keeps the tongue loose. Or, if the night is dangerous, 1 to 1. This is rare. This is a recipe for chaos, for shouting, for the kind of drunkenness that ends in shattered pottery. You watch the water splash into the wine. The deep purple liquid swirls and lightens. The slave stirs it with a long ladle. The sound of the liquid slopping against the sides of the clay bowl is hypnotic. Splash. The wine is served. A slave dips an oinocho, a pitcher, into the crater and moves from couch to couch. He hands you a kylix. Look at this object. It is a masterpiece of design and anxiety. It is a shallow, wide bowl on a stem with 2 horizontal handles. It is incredibly easy to spill. To drink from it while reclining, you must balance it carefully, tipping it just so. And here is the rule: equal drinking. When the symposiarch proposes a toast, everyone must drink. You cannot say, "No thanks, I'm driving." You cannot say, "I'm pacing myself." If the symposiarch says, "Drink deep," you drain the cup. If he says, "Pass the cup to the right," you drink, and pass. You are trapped in a rhythm of consumption that is not your own. If you are a slow drinker, you will be mocked. If you are a fast drinker, you must wait with an empty cup. You are tethered to the collective metabolism of the room. Before the first drop hits your tongue, there is one more delay, the libation. You must pour a small amount of your wine onto the floor as an offering to the gods, to Zeus, to the heroes, to the good diamond. Splash. The red liquid hits the pebble mosaic. It stains the white stones. It runs into the grout. The room smells of evaporating alcohol. Finally, you lift the kylix to your lips. The wine is cool. It is sweet, flavored with resin, retsina, to preserve it. It tastes of pine and grapes. It washes away the grease of the meat. You sink back into the purple cushion. The alcohol hits your empty stomach, or rather your full stomach. The edges of the room begin to soften. The light from the oil lamp seems to grow warmer, but looking over the rim of your cup, you see the eyes of the other men. They are watching. The drinking has begun, but so has the test. You must get drunk, but you must not lose control. You must be intoxicated, but you must remain eloquent. The golden cage has locked its door. The wine has done its work. The initial stiffness of the evening has evaporated, replaced by a flushed, boisterous energy. But if you thought this meant you could finally zone out and relax, you were wrong. Now begins the entertainment. And in the world of the elite, entertainment is a competitive sport. A guest across from you picks up a branch of myrtle. He clears his throat. He is about to start a scholion, a drinking song, but it's not a simple melody. It's an improvised verse, often complex and riddled with puns or political jabs. He sings a stanza. The room applauds politely. Then he passes the myrtle branch. To you, panic flares in your chest. This is the social terror of the Symposium. You cannot refuse. You cannot say, I don't sing. You must accept the branch. You must improvise a verse that rhymes with his, continues the theme, and is clever enough to make the room laugh, but not so biting that it insults the host. You hold the branch. Your palms are sweating, making the wood slippery. The eyes of the room are on you. You fumble through a verse from an old poet, perhaps Archilochus. You get the rhythm slightly wrong. There is a pause, a polite, pitying silence. Then someone laughs and takes the branch from you. You sink back into your cushions, your face burning hotter than the wine. This is not leisure. This is a high-stakes exam disguised as a party. The branch moves on, but the pressure remains. The conversation shifts to philosophy. What is the nature of love? Asks the symposiarch, his eyes glassy. For the next hour, you are trapped in a loop of circular logic and rhetorical flourishing. You watch these men, generals, politicians, playwrights, puff out their chests and preen. They quote Homer at length, not because they love the poetry, but to show they have memorized it. They argue over the definition of virtue, while slaves silently wipe up their spilled wine. You realize that this golden age conversation is often just a room full of egos shouting over each other. It is repetitive. It is exhausting. You nod, you smile, you agree, but your mind is numb. You are bored by the brilliance of it all. As the night drags on and the second or third crater is mixed, the pretense of high culture begins to crack. The philosophy stops. The games begin. It is time for Cotobus. This is the spectacle that defines the Greek night. It is a game of skill, luck, and mess. You watch a man across the room. He drains his cup, leaving only a small pool of wine and sediment, the laitage, at the bottom. He slips his index finger through the handle of the kylix. He leans back, balancing the cup on his finger like a discus thrower. He takes aim at a target in the center of the room. Perhaps it is a bronze disc balanced precariously on a stand, the plastics. He flicks his wrist. Swish. The wine flies across the room in a dark arc. Clang. He hits the bronze disc. It falls with a satisfying crash onto a lower saucer. The room erupts in cheers. A throw for his lover, they shout. Now it is your turn. You take your cup. You try to swirl the dregs. You lean back. You flick your wrist. Splash. You miss. The wine flies wide. It splatters onto the expensive plaster of the wall. It lands on the white tunic of the guest next to you. It soaks into the purple cushion under your elbow. There is no napkin to wipe it up. It just sits there, a wet, sticky stain that smells of vinegar and grapes. The game continues. Throw after throw, splash after splash. The room, once pristine, is becoming a stew. The floor is slick with wine. The air smells sour. The voices are too loud. The lyre player in the corner looks tired, her fingers moving mechanically over the strings. You look around at the beautiful and good. Their wreaths are crooked. Their robes are stained. Their eyes are unfocused. The glamour has dissolved, revealing the mundane, sloppy reality of intoxication that transcends all centuries. Finally, the oil in the lamps burns low. The wicks begin to smoke. The symposiarch, swaying slightly, declares the evening over. You struggle to stand. Your legs feel heavy, disconnected from your body. The room spins gently. You step out of the andron. The transition is brutal. You leave the warmth, the light, and the smell of perfume, and you step into the courtyard. The night air is cold. It shocks your skin. You walk toward the outer door. In the shadows of the colonnade, you see shapes on the floor. The slaves. They are sleeping on the hard stone, curled up in thin blankets, waiting for the morning when they will have to scrub the wine stains from your cushions and pick the fish bones from the mosaic. They do not move as you pass. They are the invisible machinery that made your evening possible. The porter unbars the heavy front door. You step out into the street. The street is pitch black. There are no streetlights. The moon is hidden behind a cloud. You are instantly swallowed by the city. The silence of the house is replaced by the distant, menacing sounds of the night. A dog barking aggressively, the scuffling of rats in the refuse piles, the heavy breathing of your own drunken fatigue. You wrap your cloak tighter. You are not a philosopher now. You are just a vulnerable human in the dark. You stumble over a rut in the dirt road. You almost step in a puddle of filth you cannot see. The golden age is behind you. The reality of the dirt is beneath you. You trudge home, your head throbbing, your mouth dry, the taste of the expensive wine turning sour on your tongue. The night is long, and the dawn will bring the sun, the flies, and the dust once more. We have reached the end of the day. We have traveled a great distance tonight. We have inhabited the bodies of the past. We woke on the hard cords of a wooden bed. We felt the scratch of the wool and the bite of the flea. We walked the dusty, sun-baked alleys, dodging the filth of a city without sewers. We stood on the windy beach, tasting the salt and the stones, fighting for a voice. We walked the long, dark road to Eleusis, seeking a mystery in the shadows, and we reclined in the golden cage of the Symposium, watching the wine stain the floor. You have lived the struggle. You have endured the boredom. You have survived the discomfort, and now you can let it go. The gates of Athens are closed. The market is empty. The torches have burned out. The past has returned to the dust. Bring your attention back to this moment, to the here and now. Feel the surface beneath you. It is not hard earth. It is not a wooden plank. It is soft. It is yielding. It supports you completely. Feel the air in your room. It is not thick with dust. It is still. It is clean. Feel the darkness behind your eyes. It is not a place of fear. It is a place of rest. You do not need to fight for your comfort. You do not need to perform for your safety. You have nothing left to do. The history is written. The day is done. Drift away from the heat and the noise. Drift into the cool, quiet, boring embrace of sleep. Good night.